well spent hours, because I think, for me, it's always a question of who presents a way out, a view that is a way out. And he's also in this case, although I do like Jung's idea, the purpose of this life is to make the unconscious conscious. But I think they're actually saying the same thing in the long run, is to eliminate or exhaust, I would say exhaust the karma of fear, such that only love arises, would probably be the purpose of this life. And so I look for people who point to, ways and means of doing that are interesting. Like, I think he's cool. He's a physicist. And when he's speaking with Joe Rogan, he does it he explains it in a really cool physicist way. And you see his process that he's been through. And it's, you watch him, you feel the level of skepticism that he entered into these experiences with, the experiences of exiting his body and living in communion with other spirits or souls for a period of time in full communication. It's profound. And for me, what's so interesting, what I look for are, seemingly non bullshit stories of people. What happens after you eliminate fear? Like, what happens after you leave the platform of the identity? Like, what is possible? What is the cartography of possibilities of experiences you could have from people who sound like they aren't theoretical, that they've actually had the experiences, so that you're motivated to move through, if you have any, whatever fear you have, which is a painful and difficult process. But so why would you do it? Well, he presents a really good picture of why you might do that. And then the woman who came on after him presents another very good picture of why you might do that. And that is that if you don't, that's what you end up looking like and sounding like. And so, and it was just, for me, it was such a great example of what happens when somebody has reified their identity in fear. And so she put up all of those labels, and I thought these are the labels that would, although I don't, by the way, just know I don't ascribe to any labels, and you'll see why in a minute, but these are the characteristics of somebody who falls into the counterpole. Somebody said, Nicole, what is codependence on my Instagram? And I said, basically, it's just the horns in your head fit perfectly into the holes in my head. But there has to be holes in my head for you to impact me in any way. There are plenty of myriad types of people that I don't ever interact with. Somebody was explaining to me how naive I am about narcissism, because they had been in long-term relationships with 4 narcissists. And I wanted to say, well, maybe it isn't naivete. Maybe it's that's something that's attractive to you, and maybe you have a difficult time admitting it. Narcissists are a blast. Like I said yesterday, because more often than not, they're geniuses and artists. So that's what I have to say. So these might be just some of the words for her. These are tend to be, the personality type that goes with the supposedly narcissist identity is sort of like Al-Anon, if anybody's familiar. And those would be smug, solipsistic, self-righteous, sanctimonious, resentful, manipulative, controlling, martyred, demanding, aggressive withdrawal. They put responsibility for self-esteem, feeling loved, and meaning on another person. Like, it's like you carry the responsibility of our entire relationship, and then when I'm not happy about it, that's going to be on you, and you mind read what I might want, and if I don't get it, then I'm going to do a TikTok, and I'm going to punitive, lacking boundaries. And this is the argument that I keep putting forward on my Instagram is, no, Nicole, you do not understand. These people do these things. And I'll say, but could they be done if you had boundaries? And then whose responsibility is it to keep your boundaries? Anne Lamott talks about this idea that we're each given an acre of land, and that is our acre of land to do with what we wish, so long as we don't hurt anybody else, right? That's our acre, but it's also our acre to protect. That is our responsibility. There is nobody else's. This is the transition from childhood into adulthood. So I'm going to say the age of 18. If everybody's ever 18 who I'm arguing with, then you qualify unless you're mentally compromised as an adult. So the transition that is required of us is that we are responsible for ourselves. Nobody else is responsible for us. Not your parents, not your lover, not the government. No one is responsible for you. No one is going to be your savior. No one is here to protect you. No one here is here to make you feel cared for or seen. Those things are gifts of life. If they happen, they are great blessings. But that's your work. It's your work. That's your work. And nobody else can know how to do it. That's the other thing. Every time you expect somebody to tend to you, we'll say better than you tend to yourself, then you're setting them up for failure, because nobody knows what to do. There's no way that I don't know how to operate anybody else's nervous system. I don't know if you do. I have enough challenges with my own. So then for me to say it's your responsibility in any way to tend to my nervous system, rather than it's a gift that you might offer me, then I'm still a child. That's still me being a child. And if you're ever angry at how you're treated, then you are expecting somebody to do or be something for you, period. That's just how it goes. And you do have the option of catching it before you're resentful. You do have the option of setting a boundary in that moment and saying, I don't like that behavior. It's just as simple. I don't like that behavior. If you do it again, I don't want to see you anymore. Very simple. It's not that complex what you do. Or, when you say that we're going out and you don't show up for the date, I feel like I'm not important to you. And if I'm not important to you, I don't want to be with you. And so if that happens again, we won't be talking again. And then you say it, and then you mean it, and then you move away. That's how you work with difficulties with a narcissistic personality. It is no more difficult than that. There's nothing more complex than that. You don't have to worry about gaslighting. You just know, I don't like this, so I'm not going to engage in it. It's really, I don't know how it ended up. Well, I do know how. I do know how it ended up being so incredibly complex, and I'll tell you. I'll read about it. So, how our having level has entered. Our having level, our having level, it's called, has us energetically shut out things that are too intense, too loving, too overwhelming. It's like an automatic peep show window that closes without our consent. This is why it might look on the surface like someone is ghosting us or pulling back after a big expression of affection. On the surface, they are cruelly withdrawing, but under the hood, they expressed affection, and we subtly and invisibly withdrew, closed, and blocked. And how? More often than not, by what is called grasping. Grasping is where there is an energy flow and you grip or contract around it. It might sound like, this is so wonderful. I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. Or I would do anything for this person. Or I would die without this person. It takes you out of the moment, which is the only place the flow of intimacy can connect between two people. So in reality, those passionate thoughts, those holding your breath and waiting for them to call and close off the channel that would keep you connected. I just want to make sure that's really clear. That would keep you connected. So so that place, most of what, the world, I would say the world, because I've now traveled enough places to know that it's pretty similar everywhere, no matter how people try to act like it's not. Grasping passes for love. Possession passes for love. Transaction passes for love. So if there is a profound expression of love and anybody grabs for it in any way, you're going to be my boyfriend, or you're going to be my wife, or you're going to be the mother of my children, or anything like that, in the height of a passionate moment, you have stopped the moment. You have killed it. It is done. You have rejected the person who's loving you. Does that make sense? Let me see on the, give me a nod if it makes sense, or shake your head no if it doesn't. Okay, good. So this is what's, when we talked yesterday about, this noxious gas that silently and invisibly kills, that's what does it. And so this person gets to look so innocent, right? They're ghosting me and they're cutting me off and they're love bombing me, and then they disappear. No, all things. I have a little two to tango video. I was going to put a tango video up, but it takes two to tango. Like, I don't know why this is so confounding to people. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I guess we're going to do it. Look at this. I remember. Okay, so this is the narcissist and their prey. Okay, that's good. Okay, good. So I see the funny part. See, that is the funny part. Without the flow of connection and intimacy, the other person drifts away or deliberately moves away, and we blame them. Instead, at a deeper level, we have blocked their love. It is a way that the ego gets to maintain its identity of open and loving, being the open and loving one, and that the person who is doing the other person who's moving away is rejecting and manipulating. Okay, does that make sense? So I get to have this innocent, I'm so innocent, and I just keep getting rejected, and I can't believe this is happening. But on the energetic lower level, and that noxious gas invisible level, I'm the one who's doing the rejecting. And I just have an identity, especially if I'm a woman, that I like to be the one who's chasing them and getting rejected and hoping and longing and yearning. And then they're so cruel. They're cruel. No, you did it, honey. That's you. That's your action. Claim it. Put your name on it. Sign it. Okay. So then, in a way that egos feed off of pain. That's the most important thing, because people are always like, well, why would anybody do that? That's what they eat. Egos. You are the only conflict you're ever in is with that ego and your soul, we'll say. And the ego is just really an amalgam of programs that were put on top of you that do or do not go according to your soul, that you have to move into alignment with your soul so there's pure expression. That's really what it is. But in order for, it's like an entity almost that's within us, and it has to feed pain, to feed off of pain to stay alive. So then all these subterfuge ways in that subconscious fear realm, it does all of these things, lo and behold, that aren't even conscious to you seemingly, but you're doing them, that keep creating the pain cycles. Like, that's how this woman ended up with a narcissist 4 different times. They keep creating the same pain cycles that reinforce the identity. That pain strengthens that sense of identity and takes us out of the ego's greatest fear, which is vast open space that is your endless liberation and freedom and joy. Just think about it. That's what you're competing against. You are not competing against the narcissist. The narcissist is just a weapon that your ego grabbed that's really good. You think about how hard you have to go out and find those people who will reject you. We used to have these gorgeous women, we still have gorgeous women, who come in here and they're like, you wouldn't believe how he rejected me. It was like, girl, what? How hard did you have to work to get this man who is perfect response with the amount of hot, beauty, gorgeous brilliance you are to reject you? What did you have to do to make that happen? And it's like, I didn't make it happen. I would never make such a thing happen. You made it happen. Like, again, claim it. So the ego loves heartbreak, rejection, drama, and upset. And, it loves, it loves big, dramatic words. You like, think about it. Think about the word narcissist. Like and now think about the charge that it's been injected with. And, you just carry around this word narcissist. Like you could just even say to your cat, you're a narcissist, and your cat would just roll over and die because it's just such a charged word, right? So, and if you have a rigid ego, it would rather affirm itself and blind you to your part in your heartbreak and upset than be happy. The ego can only see the other as cause of your happiness and your grief. It cannot hold. And by the way, I just want to say, if you hold other as the source of your happiness, and you aren't really well practiced in this, it'll be for a very brief period of time. It'll be for that first hit, and then with diminishing results until you get your refractory period and start yearning and craving again. Like it's like if you smoke, although I love to hookah, I haven't, I can't. But when you first hookah, you're like, oh my God, this is the most wonderful thing in the entire universe. I swear to God, I'm friends with Jesus. You're like, everything is incredible. And then you do your second hit and you're like, I can't really breathe. And then, and then you're like, it's really fast, it's diminishing. And then pretty soon you're just like, and then you can't walk, you can't, nothing, it's like that. But then, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to take a day or two off. And you're like, then you kind of remembering being at the hookah bar with all of those fun Middle Eastern people with their hookah, and it's so wonderful. You're like, oh, I'm going to go back to hookah. Then you go back and do that same thing. And it's just endless versions of that. This is what I'm talking about with that kind of putting your happiness outside of yourself. Only in our country, we call that love and romance. So it cannot, so the ego can only see that the other is cause. It cannot hold that you have all of the authority. You are the author of your own story. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Societies, by their very nature, are formed to keep people in line. No one is to go too far out, no one waking up into their sovereignty. Free people kill the market. You no longer rely on the external interpretations for your experience. You get to define for yourself. You want to know why? Because there is no inherent. There's no inherent anything. It's really kind of crazy. And so this idea that someone is inherently, whatever you want to call them, manipulative. We'll move it to manipulative. That just isn't so. You could say, you could go over on this side of it, the loving side, and just say they're inherently creative, or they're inherently playful. You get to choose your interpretation, and I'll tell you the trick. This is one of the tricks. Your interpretation has great input into their behavior. The eyes that you see people through create the people that you see. But it goes a little far. You no longer depend on their approval. You no longer need this is in the culture. You no longer depend on the culture's approval. You no longer need their products to feel good. In order to keep people in bondage to society, the culture must provide you with all the ways that it is not your responsibility. This is what a culture is aimed to do. And that's how you keep a culture as a parent state, right? So nobody ever gets free of the parent's household in this. So they provide you with all of the ways that basic human suffering, the burden of existence, is not your responsibility. They'll give you all of the It's like free for free. You get this in your default programming in a culture. They'll give you, like somebody didn't call you in time for your demand. They're manipulative ghoster, and there you go. There's the label, or somebody decided they wanted to uh, date somebody else. They're what? I don't know. What can we call them?
Cheater.
They're a cheater. Oh, they're a cheater. Yeah, because your attempt to take possession of another human being just didn't work. See, instead of saying like, "Oh, this is a controlling person who tried to take possession of another human being," which is absolutely impossible because this is a dynamic entity in the universe, and instead of just solely enjoying their presence, you tried to grasp onto them and strangle them, which is actually an action of hatred having nothing to do with love whatsoever. But they're the cheater. There you go. You get to make your own interpretations. Okay, so culture will provide you with the interpretations, but you have to know that all of the interpretations that you take on, every last one of them, are in order to keep you in bondage to the culture. Mm. So they'll give you an easy way out, and then they'll give you all of the people, the social agreement. So all of the people in the culture will agree with you. You get all of the benefits of conforming to the rules of the prison. And if you conform to it, you don't get thwacked, or you don't get the worst thing that you could possibly get, which is isolation. You don't get put in isolation if you conform to the rules of the prison. And they'll be really nice, Oh yeah, oh, you were depressed. Oh, they'll write it for you, which takes a lot off your plate, because they're writing all of the reasons for your fundamental misery that has to do with being in prison. But you never hit the place where it's painful enough that you want to break out, right? So they'll give you all of the reasons, and then that'll keep you in such a way that you don't have to spend too much time thinking or in self-inquiry, developing one's fortitude, what it would take really to think for oneself. So you don't have to spend your time doing that. So then you're available to be a cog in the machine with Pink Floyd. So the products don't feel good. So most often what they give you are diagnoses and the creation of controlled opposition. So if your diagnosis doesn't work, sometimes they go together, but you get a certain kind of controlled opposition. You get the other party and focus on the other party, whatever it is. It could be that you're focusing on the other party, might be men if you're a woman. It might be liberal if you're a conservative. It might be pro-choice if you're a pro-life person. Whatever it is, you do know that those are created in order to keep you locked horns so that you never break free and think. It's constant. It just keeps being pumped into the system so that you're distracted enough that you never have enough power arise to break out of the system. I ended up being such an intense broad. I used to just like smoking pot and making out at one point in my life. See, Daedone and Daedone Sicilian, she'll come back for you. B, strong systems of approval and punishment for staying in line. Media takes on things, cancellation, snubbing, legal implications. They'll give you all of the reasons to stay in line. If you do, you get tons of positive reinforcement. Especially, like you're a liberal, you could just turn on CNN and you're like, you're smart, they're dumb. Or, if you're conservative, you could turn on Fox, you're smart, they're dumb. But you get that, and keep getting that hit. And then, and then you get your social media feeds, the echo chambers, and you're smart, they're dumb. And then you just keep feeding off of that, right? Just know that's controlled opposition that is created to keep you a slave. And that's up to you if you want to do that. I'm not going to be your controlled off position. You can take that option. And most important, salves that you can purchase. Now, see, all of this is so that you can be part of the market, right? Oh, I don't know. Maybe today's a weird day. It's today where the expressions are different in the room than usual. um, so, so first, so the first thing is they give you the excuses for your fundamental suffering, and then they positively reinforce your accommodation, and they negatively reinforce your lack of accommodation, so that you can work in that system, you can be a cog in that system, so that you can withdraw funds, from working, and so that you can then buy the salves that you get for being part of that system, which are everything from medication to therapies, to any kind of self-help, to any kind of anything that is aimed to make you feel better about the fact that you're in prison. And this is Kierkegaard's idea. The idea that there's a doghouse, and no matter how beautifully you decorate the doghouse, you're still in a doghouse when right next door, I call it the celestial mansion. There's the celestial mansion of freedom. But if you're spending all of your time and energy decorating this doghouse and focusing on the doghouse and trying to please all of the other people in their doghouses and trying to demonstrate that your doghouse is better than their doghouse and all of the things that happen, then you aren't going to have the bandwidth to wake up and realize I could just walk out of this doghouse and go right here to this celestial mansion. And I would say my experience is that the reason people don't do that is such a profound fear of being alone. For just from the doghouse, just a short walk from the doghouse to the celestial mansion, and the things that really hold that in place, like I said, it's this fundamental addiction to dependency. And it's and I want to just say something. We often say, oh, men aren't dependent, they're so autonomous and free. No, that's just the script to be the complement to the over dependency of the woman in order for everyone to stay in the doghouse. But that's not true either. It just isn't. And so just know that's a ruse, like every other ruse. And there's nothing they have over there that you don't have over here, good or bad. We all have it, except for call. Women have call. Yeah. But so the piece that you want to look for, your death knell. Death knell is special. It's the killer. Is that anywhere, lover, work, career, vocation, that need to be special is the holy killer. And if you want to look at we often talk about identity being a platform, that as soon as the Dakini or the Daka takes flight and gets a moment of freedom, they'll get yanked back. And anybody who's been in deep meditation and you've just been in that place, it's just like, oh, this is breathtaking, and gets brought back to the grumpy, room that you're in, and you're like, let me go back. You know what I'm referring to, and so so it's almost like you're hooked to a chain that brings you back to the platform. I would say in human relating, that chain is special. And by the way, I want to say the ego is you have to love this little guy, because he's so cunning and so creative. And that nowadays people find special or significance by being the most wounded. It's not the most special because you're the best. It's just the most special anything. And it could be, the most special, like CAD or, pickup artist, anything. It doesn't, that, and one thing to remember is it was with reinforcement schedules, this was really interesting. So it doesn't matter if it's positive reinforcement, like you're so pretty, or negative reinforce, you're a dog. Well, no, I love dogs. You're ugly. You're ugly. Both of those have an equal conditioning power to them. What is considered true punishment is absence or withdrawal, right? So no attention is considered the worst punishment of all. That's why we have isolation in prisons. And so you just have to know that you can get just as addicted to criticism as you can to compliments, and both of them are bullshit. They're equal parts bullshit. So let them all go. There's a Jewish expression, when you can accept criticism and praise with the same, I'll just use the word equanimity, you'll know you're awake. And when you don't have clenching for either. And I had this experience once that was really taught me, I had in my life, I've had no small amount of negative press. I've had really positive press too, but when it comes time to read something that somebody's written about me, I just don't always read it. Well, first of all, I don't read it anymore, but I used to not read it with just, joy and relaxation as I opened it. And, but back then I used to read it. And so somebody had spent a pretty long time with me, and he had promised, they all promise. So they had promised, see, all these narcissist reporters, but had made, had promised, everybody promises it's going to be good. And then you get it and it's like, so I'm reading this thing, and it's in a book, and it's like a chapter on me. And it's like, I don't know, 6 or 7 pages, I think. I don't know. I think that's what it is. Anyway, I'm reading it, and I'm on page 5, and everything has been good, really good. And I feel the same anxiety attack that I would feel if it were bad. And it hit me. Oh, it does not matter. It doesn't matter what it matters if I identify with what's being written. It doesn't matter what's written. It was this moment of like, okay, good. Let it all go, Nicole. Let it all go. Okay. That's my story. So then you no longer depend on their approval. You no longer need their products to feel good. In order to keep people in bondage to society, the culture must provide you with all the ways that it is not your responsibility. Sorry about that. I'm still, yeah. Salves, you can purchase, order, and Band-Aids. The basic human suffering that comes from not being free. Everything from medications to therapies to sound bites that people through act like, immune responses to fresh ideas entering. So, okay, so this works exponentially because you are numbed to the impulse to awaken when you buy the marketplace products. They exist first and foremost to inure you to the discomfort of the stirring to awaken. You grab for those things. It's like, oh, I'm so uncomfortable. I might want to wake up. Don't do that. We have something for you. If you're a woman, we have a rom-com. And if you're a guy, we have some kind of ice bath. Like whatever it is. But we have something that will turn that pain down for you. But we'll do it all under the guise of manufactured awakening that's still matrix awakening, all because we don't like to be uncomfortable. And I used to always say this: if you can, if you hear the call to awaken, run as fast as you can. But if you get hit by the wave that you can't outrun, you better go with it because it's coming for you. But Adyashanti did a beautiful job when he was describing that everyone thinks awakening is going to be peace and light and love, and it's going to. And then Ken Wilber did a great piece too, where he talks about vaporware spirituality, the idea that it is going to be absent of all of the things that bring about the conditions of suffering for human beings. No, it is going straight into the center of those and working them and being worked by them the way the wrestling in the desert. That's what the wrestling in the desert is a metaphor for. You are wrestling with all of the things that would seem to inherently bring pain or discomfort and wrestling with them until you own those things. And yes, sometimes you come out of the desert with a hurt hip. But that is a signifier that you've gone through the initiation. And I say, me and Joe Campbell, we say put everything into the context of an initiation. Everything, anything that's difficult. This is my initiation and my letting this inform me how to be in relationship with this. When I got canceled, I immediately, okay, this is my initiation. I knew the first thing is do not get bitter. Do not get bitter and do not withdraw. Walk into this storm, Nicole. The second thing I knew was create. Use this energy to create with, and then learn everything you possibly can, because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I tell this story often. I'll tell it again very briefly, but it's important. Immediately after being canceled, I was on a Zen thing. The guy said, imagine that you were falsely accused. And I was like, what do you mean imagine? I have to imagine. And they said, feel that sensation in your body. That is your instinctual karma right there. And everyone can kind of imagine it for themselves. And very rarely do you get to touch it so directly. But when you're falsely accused, you really get to touch it. And everything comes up. And then you can deal with it directly as opposed to theoretically. And that is how you make the unconscious conscious. That is how you turn that fear into awareness, is to draw it up from the depths and face it. And so those things, as the beautiful fancy word of awakening that is so glamorous, that's what it is. It's just dredging up your sewage, living inside of it until it clears and leaves you with a little nugget of gold lesson for the rest of your life, as far as I can tell. I mean, I'm not one of those one and done kind of awakening people. They exist, and there are some really cool people who do ascribe to that view. I don't, but because I think Dharma gates are endless. I vow to enter them. That's my vow. And so I want to know everything. And if I run out of my own pain, I want to know about yours. I want to know the mechanics of yours, and how do we get inside and undo that. And, if I run out of that, then I'm sure nature has more than enough for us to encounter. And so, for me, it's a profoundly comforting place to recognize that it's endless, because then I'm not in climax mentality where I'm just waiting for the pain to end. It doesn't. So so then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, I guess you're not moving out of this house. I guess we're going to be living together. We may as well get to know each other. And then you discover, wow, this thing that has been my greatest opponent and adversary is my most dear friend and my greatest ally, and was always trying to communicate to me. Usually was always trying to communicate to me the way. And when it occurred as pain, it was because I refused to listen. And that is, to me, one of the most elegant relationships that happens in life, is the befriending of fear and the befriending of pain. And because when that happens, it's just exponential, because what was working against you is now working for you, and it's formidable as hell. I mean, it's your pain. And so it's like you have the greatest Dharmapala on your side, and you're familiar with it. It's not some strange Dharmapala coming from Mongolia. It's, right straight from the center of your soul, and it's coming to protect you. And it's coming to protect you. It's telling you when to say no, when to say yes, how to get clarity, everything. That's my feeling on that. So, and that is what the people in those diagnostic experiences aren't doing. They're taking the repulsion of the pain, and they're being bounced out there rather than coming right into the center of it. That's your protector, that right there. So that place where the pain is any way outside of you, again, in a political party, with those damn billionaires, with, those people of color, whatever it is that is the thing that rubs you the wrong way, men, women, they're crazy. Although that's just true. Whatever it is that rubs you the wrong way, you're a slave to that. And the way out is to go into the very center of the pain of it. And then the pain protects you. But really what it's protecting you from is your judgment, because your judgment is what's creating the pain. Okay. This works exponentially because you are numb to the impulse to awaken. You are kept in line and re-indoctrinated into the messaging that it is them, this cause of discomfort. It's like seeking for freedom on a movie set created by the warden. The way out, every time. How is this me? How is this my responsibility? How is this my doing? What part of me would have to develop for this to not occur again? What part of me grasps? Is it the need to be special, the need for security, the desire for belonging or proximal power? There is a very real pain, but all suffering is abandonment of the true self. All of it. So I have some really wonderful people that I talk to on Instagram who really honor me by sharing some of their experience, some of which is very difficult and very painful. And I keep saying, I don't mean to sound boring, but I'm going to say the same thing every time. Where did you abandon yourself? Where did you abandon yourself? Every single time, that's what it is when you come back. And it's so painful to see where you did that you don't want to see it. So then that's what knocks you out into, usually the first layer is resentment. That's what brings almost everybody out. You get resentful that life, it didn't give you what you wanted, or it took what you had that you wanted. And then the moment of resentment comes, and that's what drags people out. And then as soon as they're dragged out, that's when you're on that movie set and you're on the merry-go-round of looking for the reason that you're in pain. And it's not, oh, I just abandoned myself because I didn't like results. No, it ends up being very dramatic with, like I said, the DSM-5 and various, whatever dramatic labels, and then entire TikTok pages for that particular label, and then whole communities of people who have taken on that label. The whole thing, although I kind of like social media, it's entertaining, but it would all go down because all of those pages would just say, I abandoned myself. That's all it would say. Everything, all of the various expressions of it. It wouldn't be that intriguing anymore. And then we'd have to do something like art. So there is real pain, but all suffering is abandonment of the true self. And so what I mean by that is it's not a fixed self. It's not a this self that is the true self, but you got to get on this side of the curtain to begin to play with that. So when your response to pain can be the learning question of how did I create this, rather than putting the onus of responsibility anywhere outside of yourself while still honoring the pain. That's important. Then you are on the road to freedom, to making the unconscious conscious, to eliminating fear, to taking your power back. You do not take your power back by finger pointing. You take it back by drawing it into your power source, the place where you see your massive capacity to create a life, either by default or choice. That is up to you. And the detox is heavy. The ego satisfaction of seeking justice and retribution are great, at wanting them to suffer like you suffer. And there is indeed, and oh, someone liked that one. Sorry, just a minute. Wanting them to suffer like you suffer. And there is indeed a time for accountability. That is when you are free from your suffering. And the reason that you want that is that you want the person who did not live in alignment with their karma to not suffer anymore. It is when you see that someone not operating in accord with human kindness is suffering, when you do not take it personally. Then and only then is it time to offer to be part of their return to themselves, not ever when you are seeking something for yourself. You were given the gift. The gift is the lesson. The lesson is the practice in strengthening your backbone, the exercise we all must do if we want to be strong. What will you do with this most precious gift? So the last part, I've spoken about this before, and that is the quality, peace, increase, power, wrath, and activity are the 5 expressions of compassion, the taras. And wrath, more often than not, is the last sort of sadhana that you're given, the last practice that you're given, because wrath is just so dangerous to work with. I took a Yamantaka retreat with this incredible teacher whose name I don't remember. I should probably remember it, but he did golden Yamantaka, which I only know blue Yamantaka. But he was talking about the fact that he was living in India, building this house, everything was going, and this neighbor complained. He had put in all of this work, all of this energy, it was almost complete, and the neighbor complained. And in India, I guess this is a thing. If the neighbor complains, you have to stop construction immediately. And so here he was with this house, and it was 3/4 done, and he couldn't do any more work on it. And he said, he had to watch that not even an ounce of anger entered, because it would take him that far out of himself at that point, and he would be abandoning all of his good works. I knew exactly what he meant, exactly when he said that. And then I love what Robert Thurman says: if you understood hate, you would fear hate more than you would fear death. Or if you understood that kind of hostility, you would fear that hostility more than you fear death. And it's true. And, I definitely wish for my wish every day is for each to have their own karma returned to them. That is my wish, including me. All of us, each of us have our karma given to us so that we have our experience gurus to work with. But I was very clear for a long time that, after being canceled, when the big retribution, everyone, you should give retribution, you shouldn't be silent, you look guilty, whatever. And it was like, oh, no, because I feel violent. Like, I don't, why would I want to kill myself twice? Why would I want to get canceled and then drain out all of the spiritual buffer that I have inside of me? I'm going to wait until that anger is transmuted into wrath, which is compassion, and anything that I do would be for the other person's benefit in terms of restoring them to their, to a karmic truth. That's it. That can be the only intention. But it's not like you don't get to, I'll just say this one last thing. It's not like you have to roll over and take it. That's not the idea. That's very, very Bay Area Buddhism. And that makes me sick. It isn't that at all. It's that you don't want to harm your own interior world by, it's like just injecting a single toxin of hate. Hostility can take over the entire thing. And, this is really heavy. I'm going to say something really heavy, but they say, the occultists, the esotericists say, what's his name? Hitler was 99.999% awake with a tiny black dot of evil, or we'll just say pure ignorance. But when you have that much awakeness, it really activates that much evil or darkness or ignorance into the world. And I believe that. I believe, you have to take the utmost care with these things. And I personally just rather eat it than put one of those activities out. But as a woman, it's important also. This is, one of the lessons is it's important to develop that assertiveness and that holding of a boundary. I listen every day to the Golden Light Sutra and the inviolable commitments of the Dharma King. And you should listen to this. It is, if anybody wants this, Sophia will send it to you. It is profound about what is required of us to maintain the kingdom or queendom of awakening. And it's like, if you look away here, nope, you're inviting violence. And it's just, there's no way out. The amount of care that you have to take in order to build the celestial mansion that we get to live inside of. But, let me tell you, there aren't a lot of people who make that trek, right? And it would be great if there were, my friend Topeka, I think we should do a talk soon, but she's very, let's take some action. Let's do some action. She's very action oriented, and she'll say, okay, so how do you get everybody to do it? And the only thing I know is the only thing that I know, the thing that works in the AA Big Book is that you describe the sickness well enough, and then you describe the recovery from the sickness, and then people's own karma goes to work on it and does it, but there's nothing you can actually do. I think there are a lot of painful things in this life. People, think like, oh, climate change and stuff. I think the most heartbreaking and difficult thing in life is that you can't make people wake up. You can't. You can just keep setting the table and setting the table and setting the table. And, they may not even show up at the house, much less sit down to eat, much less enjoy your food. So that's all you can do. But you just get excited when somebody does make the choice. That's my thought for today.
Thank you so much.
You guys should be in this room after I go on fire.
We'll take a few reflections from online. We'll start with Becca.
Hi, Nicole.
Becca.
Wow, I love the whole thing. All of it, all of these talks you've been giving, they just touch me, and I really resonate so much. But today, especially when you're talking about how you turn your suffering, you call it an initiation. And I love that so much, because I think one of the most profound things I've gotten out of art school, which is, your work, is a whole new relationship with pain. It's like befriending pain. I loved how you said that today. It just hit me like befriending pain. I go, that's what I've done. And it's like, oh, in fact, it was kind of when I got through my pain so easily this year. I mean, I was in it, and I learned how to be in it. But when I got through it, it was kind of like, oh, shoot, because it was so rich, it was so
yes.
And that's so I love that relationship with pain, and I'm able to share that with other people too. It's such a gift to have them see it that way. And then the other thing is the responsibility, and that was drummed into me, being responsible for your life. I think in my 30s with landmark education, I am responsible. This is I create my life. I'm the cause of it all. But, it's so easy, that was in my 30s, 40 years later. It's so easy though to forget that,
So well said.
Yeah. I love the responsibility. I love the call to that, like what would I have to change in me? It's really me, and this is my life, and I'm creating it every minute, and how I interpret everything, that is my world, and I'm doing it. And just to own that is so powerful.
It's so good. You know, it's funny. It reminds me, yesterday a woman came on and she talked about when she had more power, then this obsession fell away. And it's what I like. There's that place where when you have more power, uh, pain dissolves that much more quickly, and then you realize, oh, wait a minute, friend. I one time I was so obsessed with this guy, and I was working with a teacher, and she said, "Enjoy it while you can. There'll come the day when you don't get obsessed anymore." And I just could not imagine that that day would ever come. And then there was a place where the day came, and I don't get to have those intense feelings anymore. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. And we have a friend on Instagram.
I just found that out. Actually, during the talk, I heard read her text, and she said, "I feel closer to you because I'm interacting with Nicole." You know,
it's so cool. It's really cool. So anyway,
that's so cool. Thank you.
Wonderful,
Thanks.
wonderful to see you.
We'll go to Russell next.
Oh, hey, Nicole.
Hi, Russell.
Yeah. You look like you were in Sicily yesterday.
I was.
You went between yesterday and today, you went to Sicily and you came back. There's like,
right.
I'm not going to say more than that, but sometimes your metaphors are great. When the horns.
What do you mean sometimes, Russell?
Sometimes my metaphors are great. I'm just like, maybe, okay, all our metaphors of both of us are great.
Okay, good.
That's it. Codependency. The horns in me fit the holes in you, or whatever. It's like, nice. It's like, let's take responsibility. I don't want the horns either, or the holes. I have a table for you to sit at if you'd like one. I'd be happy to sit at your table too.
Oh, you're so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Russell. We'll end with Patrish.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Patrish.
Hi. Oh my gosh. I am so full and not too full. It's like I so appreciate the clarity that you've offered, and especially the part about, we can't make anyone wake up. And I see the clarity is for our karma to go to work on it.
That's right.
And thank you so much. I trust that you will continue to do that. And it's like there's something about my karma actually wants to thank you.
Oh, thank you. You give good love, Patrish. All right, that's another day. What's tomorrow? Okay, tomorrow I won't be here, but I'll be here on Thursday. Thursday, yes. Okay, I'll see you Thursday. We'll continue tomorrow. I'm on Colombian radio.